Let's talk about 2016.
What happened in 2016? Oh, no, 2016 was a bad year. We don't want to talk about 2016. Yeah. America went to shit.
We've had worse.
Yeah.
Like
2016 was a pretty good year for movies, I think, though.
Yeah. What came out in 2016?
Yeah, you go.
No, I honestly thought Blade Runner came out in 2017. 2040.
Captain America Civil War. That was fun. But then also Suicide Squad. So I guess it wasn't that great of a year for movies after all.
No, yeah, it wasn't.
Oh, it was the year the first Deadpool came out. That was a big hit.
That was a big hit. A lot of superhero movies. Oh my god.
Well, I mean, that's all it is. Oh, also Assassin's Creed came out that year.
Oh, okay. Big rip. Why did they make a movie like out of Assassin's Creed? Like,
hey, they've made a movie out of Uncharted too, which we can talk about. But yes,
that's true.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a podcast now, episode 16, where we decided to talk about the year 2016 and just reflect.
Actually, it's episode 17. Ignore everything we said, the intro, the whole bit. It's just irrelevant. It's episode 17. Let's get on with the show.
Yeah.
Just reflect for a bit.
Just reflect on where our lives have gone, mainly downhill.
Since 2016, yeah, mainly downhill in a lot of aspects. Yeah. Well, we peaked in high school.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Lachlan Rodwell, and I'm joined, as always, by Space Jesus, Lucas Boreham. Lucas, how are you doing?
Oh, good. I mean, if I am Space Jesus, then like, do I just subside in space, or do I come from like a space planet or another planet?
Well,
like, am I Alien Jesus or Space Jesus? Is there a difference?
You're not Alien Jesus. It's just you're Jesus in space. Right.
Okay.
And if you don't know, I'm trying to make a reference to Dune, which came out last week in the United States in theaters and on HBO Max, but will not release in Australia for a few months. I think it comes out mid-December.
5 years.
So we decided we may as well fly over to the US.
But
then
quickly.
But then we didn't go to the theaters. We just got HBO Max. So bit of weird choice there. Probably could have used a VPN or something.
That's true.
But anyway, yes, we have seen Dune, and that's what we'll be talking about today. And we'll also take a look at another Denis Villeneuve classic, Blade Runner 2049, his last movie before Dune. Also, if you're an American watching this and you are saying, why are we talking about the month June? No, it's Dune in American. You know, Dune.
Is it?
Yeah, they say Dune.
Dune.
Anyway.
Okay, I see. They do bad things with words, like aluminum.
Yes.
That's worse than Dune. I can understand that. Or calling a coupe a coupe. All right, tone it down a bit. Don't have to be too stereotypical, but Dune I can actually forgive. I'm not going to lie.
Yes.
Fair
enough. But yes, we'll be talking about Dune today. And let's start with some news, though, first. Now, I've got some options for the news. You can decide what we talk about, because I don't know what I want to talk about out of this. Firstly, all the 2022 Marvel movies have been delayed. Mm-hmm. Secondly, Uncharted got a trailer released. And thirdly, Alec Baldwin killed a cinematographer.
Yes, we need to talk about this.
Okay.
We need to talk about this because this has been like the topic for everything. Yes. Honestly, me and Ferg have been joking about it badly because poor Alec Baldwin, he doesn't deserve this amount of stress.
He's scarred for life now.
He is scarred for life, the poor man. But it's a very interesting kind of dilemma.
Yeah.
And I saw, a few things on this about, the events leading up, and that there were quite a lot of things that happened before that,
that might have caused what happened. So essentially, if you don't know, Alec Baldwin, famous actor, he's filming a movie at the moment called Rust, which is like a cowboy movie or something. And he had to do a scene with a gun, and typically the guns used in films aren't prop guns. They're actual real guns. They just have blanks in them instead of live bullets, right? Mm-hmm. But in this case, and it's interesting, usually what happens is something gets caught in the blank and gets fired as a projectile. So that's what happened with the actor from The Crow. That's how he died.
Yeah.
But in this case, it was an actual live gun, live rounds used, and Alec Baldwin, a lot of people, Alec Baldwin shot and killed the cinematographer and also injured the director of the movie, which is so tragic.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, honestly.
It's very, very tragic.
Horrendous that occurred. But a lot of people are saying, well, how did that happen? I mean, why was he aiming it that way? Firstly, it was likely that they were setting up some sort of shot and it was like, okay, we want to see how it looks, fire it this way.
That's not the real question you should be asking. She's a cinematographer. She honestly probably told Alec, okay, I want you to be pointing the gun at me to get the shot correctly.
Or maybe pointing it at the camera and they're behind the camera.
Yeah.
It's very logical that something like that could have happened. And I think it was multiple shots fired as well, because from Alec Baldwin's perspective, he didn't know it would be no different to a blank. And so he just shot probably a few times and then everyone realized what was happening. But yeah, as you were saying, there was things surrounding it. So firstly, a lot of people were talking about the bad working conditions on this movie, and that actually led to a lot of the production people walking out.
Production crew
walking out before the event took place.
Apparently hours before it happened.
Yeah.
Like apparently hours before Alec, shot and killed someone, like on set. The crew were like, we don't feel safe because earlier, like a couple days earlier than, the horrendous event, the stunt double for Alec Baldwin apparently shot 2 live rounds, obviously accidentally, in a similar scene that they were trying to film. And he, like, the stunt double was like, should we have, a safety protocol or like a meeting or something? And he texted the producer being like, this just happened. What do we do about it? Like, we need to stop or something like that. Which is, it's like, this just happened before and then they're just going to let it happen again because they want to rush the film. Obviously because, there's budgetary constraints and stuff like that, which is just terrible.
But yes,
it's just a terrible tragedy.
There's some interesting aspects to it in that it seemed like, there have been reports saying that the prop department were using the gun for target practice the day before, using live rounds, and then forgot to change them out when giving him the gun. But there's a lot of negligence there because it is...
Why?
I think they're called the property master. They are the ones that handle the weapons, and they need to make sure that you're giving the actor a weapon that doesn't have a live round in it. Because again, they're not prop guns; they're real guns.
Yeah. Why? I'm surprised more people aren't asking the question as to why are they using real guns. Well, it's probably cheaper. But
it's actually not. It's actually not cheaper.
Well then, why?
Here we
What's
go.
the reason?
No, and there's no actual reason why. It's largely because it's seen as a more authentic way of having weapons in your movie and making them look real and whatever else. It's just like a part of cinema history is using guns with blanks in them. But very famously, Zack Snyder, he released a movie at the start of this year called Army of the Dead. Fantastic movie on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Fantastic.
And when that movie was filmed, it was filmed using like BB guns essentially instead, right? And it had
I didn't notice
it had
anything
nearly the
to
same
do with
effect.
the
It
guns,
looked brilliant. All the guns looked fantastic, and it didn't because even when you're using blanks, there are still countless examples of blanks harming people. So there's now this discussion going on in Hollywood, like, well, why are we actually using real guns? There are other ways. I mean, when we could even just use a prop gun and do CGI. CGI is good enough nowadays that you could fake it. So that is a question. Why are they still using real guns? It's definitely not cheaper.
And why are they doing target practice with the gun? Because you do target practice with a gun to get the performance of a gun.
But no,
they don't need the.
It was like for fun. So it's really negligence, a lot of negligence on this set. Yeah. But again, Alec Baldwin, he himself is a producer on this movie, and
oh no,
this is where it starts to get tricky. If a lot of the production was poorly done, didn't have any of the unions involved, then Alec Baldwin can also be held responsible, because at the end of the day, they should have been the proper procedures in place. And that goes to the higher ups as much as it goes to the person directly responsible.
Because I wanted to really just be like on Alec Baldwin's side, being like, everyone's like hating on him because he shot and killed someone.
Yeah, I think that's unjustified.
But it's not. It's unjustified. Like, it's not his fault in the slightest. He was told that the gun is cold. That is a thing. He's not concentrating about the gun in it. He's concentrating about the scene around him.
Yeah, being an actor.
Being an actor. That's his job. That's what he's there to do. He's not worried about the gun in his hand because a man's told him that's cold. He's worked on countless films before with guns and stuff. Like, he is a very, very he's a very, very good actor.
I know. And he's definitely scarred for life from this.
Yeah, it's very sad.
So it's awful. It's awful what transpired, and it really doesn't need to happen ever again. I mean, I think the reason why it's stuck with so many people now is because people assume that this wouldn't be able to happen in 2021. And it shouldn't have happened. I mean, we should have learnt this ages ago, but
there were a lot of hints that something bad was going to happen, but I didn't expect the hints to literally be the exact same thing happening, with the stunt double, like a couple days before. Like, that is just so silly for a film crew to be like, we had a live misfire on this set. Like, we need to come together and be like, guys.
Yeah, we need to make sure this doesn't happen again. Whatever happened.
Gun safety is a thing, because we can kill each other.
And then, that's what happened. So, very tragic incident. Let's hope it never happens again. It should never need to.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
Let's try to lift things up again, and let's talk about Denis Villeneuve's new movie, Dune. So, this movie is based on a book, a very famous book. Have you read the book?
No, but I kind of know, I understood what the book was trying to do, I guess. And I kind of looked at what what Danny has kind of altered from the book. Right. Well, not much, obviously, but no,
because
I found the book, very interesting. Like, the whole premise, it's very, very interesting.
Because I kind of went into it largely blind. I have not read the book, nor seen the original Dune, who I can't remember who it was directed by.
There's an original Dune.
Yeah, there's one from 1984, directed by David Lynch. That's right, David Lynch. Wow. And it's like an example of trying to do this massive, massive world and just not getting it right at all because it's just too big and too much and too difficult. And
in 1984,
no,
all they're doing in the 80s is Back to the Future. The biggest thing probably back then was Ghostbusters
Star
or something.
Star Wars would have been.
Star Wars, true.
That would have been.
But that was all minifigures, right?
But yes, so
miniatures.
So I kind of went into it largely blind, and I've got to say, look, I love Denis Villeneuve. I love him to bits. I'm not saying the movie's bad. I'm not saying the movie's bad. It's just not for me. That's all I'm going to say. It's not for me. What did you think, though?
I kind of agree, because it was a long movie. And it was a sci-fi movie. I was more interested that we've never seen a sci-fi movie of this kind of caliber. Like, when the year popped up, the date of year 10,000, I was like, oh shit. Like, we've usually seen year 3,000, year 2,600 or something like that. But year 10,000, like a civilization that has banned AI because they're so civilized. Intelligent that they know the proper dangers of AI, I guess, because we know how bad AI is in the whole sci-fi worlds and stuff like that. But I think I was just blown away by all the ships, I guess the force field kind of
the shield that they wear around their bodies.
Yeah, it kind of explained why there were no gunfights, because I was expecting space guns and stuff, but it explained. Just in that, without that's why they use blades and stuff, because they can only penetrate the force field thing. But it was honestly very, very good.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's kind of what I want to say is that it's undoubtedly an amazingly made movie, right? Denis Villeneuve and everyone involved knows what they're doing. The cast is great, right? Like, the cinematography is superb, as always.
Oh, my God.
The score is like... The score includes...
The score is huge.
The score's huge.
It's huge.
But it also includes bagpipes, which I thought was a really, like, interesting touch. And it really made it feel like this is a different world than, you know, traditional kind of sci-fi. Like, you don't really think of bagpipes in Star Wars, you know? So it was... Exactly. It made it really different.
But I understand what you mean by it's not for me. Yeah. And I kind of resonate with that because the story was just...
I would say it's not for me. Well, firstly, I'm not big into fantasy movies. This is a sci-fi fantasy, and it's really an amalgamation of a lot of different things. So it's like if you... Firstly, it's like... It's very similar to Lord of the Rings in terms of adapting this massive world and having to build everything and get everyone on board with what's going on. And there's just so much you have to, you know, trudge through to get to the actually good, the actual good parts, because it's such a huge fucking world. So it's like that with Lord of the Rings, except in terms of its style, it's more like if Star Wars met Game of Thrones with a little bit of Mad Max thrown in. Like, that's kind of the movie. So it's very easy. If you like all of those, if you like Lord of the Rings, you like Star Wars, you like Game of Thrones, and you like a little bit of Mad Max, you'll love this movie. But for me, I'm not a big Game of Thrones guy. I'm not a big Lord of the Rings guy.
Same.
So it was a bit of a struggle getting through that fantasy world, like the world building. Like, there's a lot of world building. I'm not saying there shouldn't be, but it's a lot to get through. It is mostly just people explaining things to each other for 2 hours and then half an hour of action sprinkled throughout. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's a hard watch.
No, I agree. It felt like one of those films that, you do have to, like, reading the book is a huge help because they were talking about 4 or 5 different planets.
I was so fucking lost the entire time.
This emperor... I mean, well, you kind of understand.
You get the gist,
but you but I did like how, you know, his like, we didn't even see the man, and, you know, his influence of power was just, you know, throughout the whole cosmos or whatever. I did like the kind of political dilemmas.
Well, exactly, and it was very Game of Thronesy in the these houses and the politics of them, and it tried. So it's literally this amalgamation of a lot of different things. And look, in terms of the world building, it's like sometimes they do it really organically, but sometimes it's really forced. And just one of the examples I have is when they explain how the shields work. It's like there's a scene between Timothée Chalamet and Josh Brolin, right?
Brolin,
and it's like Josh Brolin's like the trainer to Timothée Chalamet, and Timothée Chalamet puts on the shield. He hits his hand twice with the sword, and you see, it deflects it, and then he does it down slowly, and you see it passes through it, and you're like, oh, okay, I kind of get how the shield works. And then they fight for a bit, and then Josh Brolin says, you know, oh, it's the sword that moves slowest, that cuts deepest, or like something like that, that explains the shield. And to me, that broke the immersion, because it was like, why are you telling Timothée Chalamet that? He would already know that. He's been on this world this is his life. You're explaining that to the audience. And it's not like the difference is, right, when Luke Skywalker sees the lightsaber for the first time, the audience sees it for the first time. But in this, we see the shields for the first time, but Timothée Chalamet would have already known and seen the shield. Yeah, it's just this mismatch of trying to explain things to the audience through a character. It needs to make logical sense that this person is getting it explained to them as well. And sometimes that just doesn't line up. So it's very jarring to be it just feels like I'm getting told everything about the world. And it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to watch.
It is hard, but I feel like, other than the world building, the character development was really, really good. the whole relationship between, I think it was Paul and his mother.
He was a real dick to his mum in a lot of ways.
He was, but I mean, it was understandable.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It was an interesting kind of relationship that, you know, in a more generic movie wouldn't be played out this way, because it makes Paul a little bit unlikable in a way, but it works for this movie because he's not, because he is supposed to be, they hint at it very briefly, and I assume in sequels they'll go further with it, but Timothée Chalamet's Paul Atreides, or whatever his name is Space Jesus. So he's like, it's like a chosen one type story, very similar to Star Wars or Harry Potter. He's the chosen one.
You're the chosen one.
Yeah. You're supposed to bring balance to the Force.
And that's what Paul's supposed to do.
Yes.
But, I mean, I kind of like it, how it's from his perspective, and he's like, it's definitely a lot like Avatar, The Last Airbender, where Aang's, you know, he's this kid like Paul, and he knows he's the Avatar, and he doesn't like it. He doesn't want it. He's fucking like, I just want to be a kid. I just want to hang out, you know, have normal friends, live a normal life. But Paul, like similar to Paul, you know, he doesn't want any of this shit. And that's why he hates his mother, because he's like, you know, you brought me into this world, like knowing, wanting the chosen one kind of thing.
That's the one kind of thing I was struggling to understand, was like there was this whole thing about how the mother was supposed to have a daughter and then ended up having a son, and everyone was like, I don't know about this son guy.
How do you control that as well? I mean, can they do that in the future? Probably.
I don't know.
I guess.
It's this very, see, and that's ultimately an issue with the movies, because there's so much explanation. It can kind of get, sometimes, you know, it can just get a bit confusing and you get a bit overwhelmed. But also sometimes, because there is a lot of explanation, it can get a bit boring and you forget about shit and you lose interest.
Need a good balance.
So it's like, this is the kind of movie that, you know, you'll need to watch multiple times through to fully understand what's going on. But you kind of don't want to put yourself through that multiple times.
Yeah. Whereas Tenet, on the other hand,
rewards
you. Want to watch. It rewards you, for watching multiple times, because you're like, you go in with more experience and like more, you know, understanding of how, you know, the film works. Whereas Dune, you're like, you understand it. You're just kind of going back to, you know, understand people,
like to get the full picture, because it's like you get the general gist. There's the Emperor kind of bad guy, and Timothée Chalamet's Space Jesus. Like, again, everything is so well done with the movie. It's just that it needs to be a setup. And what's so weird about this is I assumed, because the title of the movie, when you're watching the movie, is Dune Part 1. So I was like, they've already greenlit a sequel, or maybe they've already filmed a sequel or something. Yeah, well, but no.
It felt like it, because half the sequel I felt like was shown in those visions that he had. And that kind of... Were you sick of those, or was it just me?
No. Every time one of them came on, I was on my phone. I was like, we'll get there eventually. I don't need to see it now.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like they needed to be very... those, like, visions are very, like, you know, abstract. I feel like they needed to be more abstract, not just what actually happens. Like, when we saw Duncan's death in his vision, it literally was Duncan's death, and I was like, oh, okay, like, you know, you need to show some more abstract to it so that, like, we don't actually see it, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but
because then it's...
I guess because a lot of the ones in the movie are actually referring to things that will happen after the movie as well. So then it's about how accurate is his ability. Like, is it perfect, like we saw with Duncan, or is it not? Yeah. And I guess that's... I mean, if you've read the book, maybe you know, but from our perspective, we don't really know that. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I think since it's such a setup, it honestly, to me, it kind of felt like Deathly Hallows Part 1, or a worse example, Mockingjay Part 1, where it's like 100%. It's very much, there's another one, right? And this is just the setup for that other one. But then there's no guarantee we're getting a second one. So if this exists as its own movie, it's a really weird watch then. Like this, the sequel, I imagine, is going to be amazing. And it's going to build to this gigantic thing that's going to be awesome. And it's going to be like when you do a marathon of it, you'll be like, okay, we just got to get through this first one, but it explains everything and sets everything up. And then those second one and the third one just go off. Because that's kind of how I feel with Lord of the Rings. I struggle to watch Lord of the Rings because the first one's a bit of a tough watch, like Dune, because there's so much to get through. So, but yeah, if there's not a sequel, which there might not be, I mean,
I hope there is, honestly.
I'll quickly look up the box office.
The box office is looking pretty good. I think it's 142 million or something like that.
So in terms of Warner Brothers, they've been releasing their movies on HBO Max at the same time. This has performed the best out of any of the HBO Max released movies. So that's a good sign. It opened worldwide, so including domestically, it was about 40 million, which is, domestically being the US. International was 180, so in total 220, which is pretty good. Pretty good for a pandemic movie. And as well, you can easily grow a box office, like, in terms of the sequel. The sequel could make a lot more than this. I mean, if you look at, like, Batman Begins, I think only made 500, and then The Dark Knight made $1 billion, right? So you can build the box office. So I don't think it's too much of an issue. And what's interesting is Warner Brothers did say that they wouldn't base a sequel off of the box office alone. They'd also look at how it's received. And
Warner Brothers has been quite good, honestly.
They've got a really interesting strategy. I mean, we can talk about how the HBO Max strategy, how well that's worked out for them. But in terms of the actual creative output, they're making blockbusters like no other studio. Like, I could not see Dune being made by anyone else, let alone like the Suicide Squad as well. And we've got the upcoming The Batman. Yeah. These are all movies with very specific takes. And
it's amazing. And they know the fucking system now. Yeah. They're like, people want specific things, not just bland content just being pushed out. Because the movie market's so oversaturated.
Especially just with Disney movies.
Exactly.
They're all just action comedies meant for a family-friendly audience.
AKA Jungle Cruise. Yeah. It's like, shooty. Whereas Dwayne Rock Johnson on a boat.
Exactly. Whereas a lot of what Warner Brothers is putting out is actually more like adult themed or adult focused. I mean, even look at Tenet. A kid wouldn't understand what the fuck's going on there. Right? So
no.
It's interesting that they're making these choices that are pitting them as being like the alternative studio when they're still like the second largest behind Disney.
Oh, yeah.
It's just that they're not acting like a mainstream studio. It's really fascinating and it's great and we should be supporting that so they keep doing that. Because I don't want more same shit,
Yeah, I don't want same. I want different.
That's a reference to what's it called? What was that movie?
The Interview, maybe.
The Interview. That's the one. The Interview.
Just that's a general saying. Yeah, same but different.
True.
I feel like.
Yes.
But yeah. Anything else?
As well, the movie you mentioned Avatar before, The Last Airbender, of course, not James Cameron's Avatar. And there's a little kind of similarity here between the sea, air, and sand are like power sources. Yes.
That is true. That is true. Well, the sea, air, sand power, Paul's dad talks about that. And like, because it seems like the planet that they first resided on, they came to power on that planet and then they reside on that planet. And that's what they're probably going to do with what was the planet called? Was it something? The sand planet.
The sand planet.
The main planet where it has spice, which I thought was funny because I was like, are they going to mention how it's used for food maybe? Or are they just going to use the word and then say it's,
is it
for interdimensional?
Well, I had no idea what the actual spice was. Is it like a currency?
It's dust.
Or is it like
what's
gold?
A drug? It's essentially like, because the Fremen, the indigenous people that have really blue eyes.
Yeah, right.
And they get high off this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, they use it like LSD, and then everybody else in the solar system uses it, or not Solar City, the universe uses it for like faster than light travel fuel, which is like, yeah. So really, I don't understand why there's like this massive war, because one wants to get high and the other wants to
Travel.
make millions and travel.
So it's an oil company versus a bunch of drug addicts.
Hippies
Versus an oil company. It's a metaphor for that, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
Duh.
Okay, now I understand it. Now you've brought me back on board. I understand what's going on now.
Yeah. But yeah.
Also,
I was very interested. Oh no, you go first.
I was just going to say the shields as well. I don't think the shields actually work because the whole thing is that you got to be slow to get through to them. But then in the fight scene with Duncan, it's just like he's just slicing people. He's slicing and dicing people.
I didn't understand them.
I couldn't understand when it would be a blue hit versus a red hit because it's like it wasn't being slow at all. I mean, sometimes it was sick, like when the little dart thingy. The dart thingy, and it was like, okay, he's got to race against that. But when it's the swords, it literally made no difference his speed when it should have. So I don't know if that was just a mistake.
Then again, the cinematography, the choreography.
Oh, was the fight scenes
getting my ographies.
You got to go back to uni to learn your ographies.
Yep, you got your geography, your photo.
So you got one.
I got one. Biology, chemistry, psychology,
chemistrology.
So the cinematography.
No, the choreography.
Choreography is really good.
They're both really good.
Especially when Paul, like, you first see the fucking he's like practicing. Yeah. Those moves that he was pulling off, I was like so impressed. I was like, holy shit.
I don't buy Timothée Chalamet in the fight scenes. That's my issue.
I think I do. He's very nimble and agile,
sure,
and that's what I like.
But it's like, I don't know. I don't see him as like the action leading man. Whereas the fight scenes with Jason Momoa, I was like, let's fucking go, you know? Because it was like...
Yeah, and we saw a lot of them. Yeah. And he went off. But and then I didn't want him to die.
No.
That was well. I hated that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of...
They were just always on the back foot.
There's a lot of big names in this movie that do bite the dust. So, I don't know... I don't know where the movie go, like the sequels go. I don't know if they come back or if there are other big characters. But it's like when you fill the cast with a bunch of big names and then, you know, get rid of them.
And they all die.
I don't know.
I kind of like that though, because...
It leaves you not knowing what's going to happen, which is good.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
That's where you want to be.
Also, what I was going to say beforehand was, so if you notice this in the film, like, just want to speculate with you. If you're listening to this and you've read the book, please tell me that I am correct. But so you know when the Fremen, or what was their like terrorist group name?
Honestly,
was that the yeah?
No idea.
So you remember the black chick that helps Paul's character and his mother get into that little wasp thing, and then she stays behind, and then she puts like that thumper down to call the sandworm, and then she has these like two like looking ice pick looking things. In my mind, I was like, is she gonna ride this thing? Because that'd be sick. Because that's what I was thinking, and I remember seeing one of them like with the same like two ice picks. And why would they need that sand thumper to call a worm? Like what?
So you're saying
what does that?
So because I just assumed that the thumper was like they commonly use that to get out of a sticky situation where it's like, oh, there's a bunch of bad guys, chuck a thumper down, they're gonna be fucked and not know what's going on, and we'll leg it. Because they might have like because they know the planet, like that's their planet. They may be like they know exactly how these sandworms work, but I could see that being the case because we didn't. The thing is, we haven't really seen the worm in like all its glory. It's kind of like we've seen bits and pieces. Mostly, it's giant fucking mouth.
I do like it though. It's fucking sick.
It's a sick looking worm.
It'll eat you up no matter what.
Best sand dune worm in any movie. I think it's safe to say.
No doubt. No worm comes close. But yeah, I also like how like Paul was learning about the planet, like watching videos and stuff, and then he would do those things. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
But then that goes on to like, you know, to the slow world building and the stuff.
Yeah, and I think as well, going back to how I think this movie kind of feels like Deathly Hallows Part 1, it does the thing where it doesn't have a big climax. It has like a small kind of lead-in. Well, it's a massive lead-in, but like a small climax that just, the whole point is to lead into the next movie. And that's an unsatisfying ending. If it's just this one
very
single
unsatisfying ending. I literally skipped the last 5 minutes. I was like, because nothing can happen of you know, any significance in 5 minutes, and I was like,
and it doesn't.
There's not much.
It doesn't necessarily set up the sequel. It's more just like it's where the sequel would keep going with the story.
Yeah.
So it's weird. There's no like, and I'd say that's an issue in any movie is you need that climactic moment where it's like you're building up to this, and then there's this release of tension, and this didn't have that at all. It just kind of ended abruptly. So I don't know. It's a weird. I think a lot of weird choices were made that would have made sense if this was like. Imagine if they filmed Dune 1 and 2 or 3 or whatever. If they filmed them back to back, right? Like they did Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter.
That'd be right. Did they actually do Lord of the Rings back to back? Holy shit!
It was like a 9.
How much
it was
money
like a
did they
9-month
have?
shoot. Like all the actors moved to New Zealand for like a year to film that movie. We'll film all 3.
Oh my god!
So
that'd be really good.
If they had done that, then I could see this. Like, we're going to get a Dune movie every year. So then that kind of ending makes sense. But no, they haven't even made the movie. So it'll probably be 3, if not more, years until we got a sequel.
Yeah.
It's very unsatisfying. It's a weird choice.
But yeah, I mean, the history, like, Denis had read the books as a child, and I feel like, obviously being like, you know, understanding the books, knowing what they're going for, he's probably been like, okay, I want to make, obviously, the Dune book into a movie. How much can I put into one movie that won't bore the fuck out of audiences? And he realizes that, okay, that's part 1 of the book of how I want to cover it. Yes, there is no climax at the ending, but that's how the book does it. Yeah. And I just, you know, I got to do that because I got to cover everything. And he's more focusing on other things like, you know, I guess that's like where he's going.
Yeah, his big focus on this movie is to build the world. He said in interviews that now that we've built the world, we'll hit the ground running in a sequel and we'll just go with it. And it makes sense. And you can see as you're watching the movie, like that's how it feels. Like this movie is just putting all the pieces in place so that then we can go running in the next one, because otherwise it would just be constant explanation, like a constant mix of poorly explained things and not as good action. Whereas now it's like, let's front load all of the explanation at the start and then you can get better action later on. So
I don't mind that.
I don't mind it as a strategy if we get a sequel.
Yeah.
If we don't get a sequel,
that's true.
Because I'm the kind of person that I wouldn't mind. At the end of the day, I wouldn't mind if I was thrown into this movie and there was very little explanation and very little hand-holding, and it was just a huge spectacle. I'd be okay with that.
That's true.
Some people would hate that because it's like some people need to know what's going on. But I'm the kind of guy where I can just run with it. And
I'll be like, you're dropped in the middle of this, you know, battle or just this Paul's life in the fucking so far in the future that it's so hard to conceive what is going on. And I love so the scenes I really, really enjoyed were the test that Paul had to go through. That was intense as fuck. And it like the most intense like scene I've ever watched in my life with just like
such a simple concept.
That's such a simple and like just that technology, how it's like displayed that you were like, this thing looks ancient as fuck. Yeah. And then the needle up to like his neck, you were like, oh shit, like this is life. This is literally life or death on a T. And then the part where there's like this little drone thing with a needle on it that comes into Paul's room. I was like, instantly.
That was great.
Instantly, you know what's up. You're like, oh shit, like he's in trouble. And then they find the guy that was in control of it. He's not alive. He's fucking dead. But I just like love that, you know, whole espionage in, you know, 8,000 years in the future is still going on.
Yeah.
And then I think it's the Harkonnen. I think they're the main bad guys, the just completely white dudes. They were scary as fuck. Like they were obviously.
Oh yeah, and like the character designs were great. I mean, like the Emperor guy, the really fat Emperor guy. Can't remember his name, but he's in Thor. First Thor.
He's in Thor. He's in Chernobyl as our favorite.
Oh, he's a Skarsgård, isn't he? He's a Skarsgård.
What's a Skarsgård?
You know, like Bill Skarsgård and fucking all the Skarsgårds. There's a million Skars. They're like this family of actors all throughout. You know, like Pennywise the Clown. He's a Skarsgård. His name's Stellan Skarsgård.
I've never heard of the Skarsgårds.
Well,
that's
acting family. So yeah, but he's covered in like prosthetics and he's fat.
Yeah.
He's terrifying.
He's huge.
The way he like floats. And another note I had that will tie into Blade Runner 2049 is that Denis Villeneuve really just loves like a really gruesome death for Polka Dot Man from the Suicide Squad. I'm just going to refer to him as Polka Dot Man because he has a really hard name to pronounce.
Yes,
but in both this and Blade Runner 2049, he just gets absolutely obliterated in a very, very violent way. So maybe that's like, you know,
people just love killing his man.
Well, yeah, I mean, and he dies in Suicide Squad as well. So what a poor man.
I mean, he plays a good character though. He definitely plays like the creepy looking dude. He was scared though. Obviously, brothers or his cousins, I guess. He was just there like, that just happened. Fuck. It kind of it was relatable as an audience member to be like this shit has actually happened. But the world building in that circumstance was really good.
Yeah, characters fantastic. Character designs and how they're acted.
Designs,
fantastic.
yeah. The Dr. Yue, that whole thing kind of pissed me off, like how he would betray everybody for his wife and
was
then
that
not even get his wife.
Character?
I think so. Yes. Dr. Yue, the guy that like sabotaged everything, and then. But I mean, I did like though how he put the thing in the guy's teeth that ended up poisoning everybody. He had the backup.
Yeah, Oscar Isaac doing Oh, and I don't think we've listed all the people in this movie, but fucking everyone's in this movie.
Everyone.
It's insane.
They got everyone.
It's an insane cast that they got for this movie, and it shows how much.
Do so well.
It shows how much people were like interested in Dune as an adaptation and like doing it properly. Like Zendaya's in it. Javier Bardem, Timothy Chalamet,
that's what
Josh Brolin, Oscar Isaac.
He's just known for doing things properly.
It's
as we can say and lead into with Blade Runner 2049.
Yes.
Probably the only good sci-fi sequel that we will ever see.
Well, so that was our review of Dune. Go watch it, of course, because I want to see a sequel because it's going to be so sick to see. Especially now that we put it...
It is long.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, you might have a bit of a boring time.
Plan some time.
It might be a bit of a hard watch, but it'll be worth it if we get a sequel, and to do that, you need to watch the movie. So please go watch it. And just support what Warner Brothers is doing. Like, this is incredible that they're making this caliber of blockbuster that isn't really going to make them, like, that much money at the end of the day. It's really good on them. Good on them. But yes, Denis Villeneuve's previous movie, Blade Runner 2049, a sequel to the Ridley Scott movie classic, Blade Runner Blade Runner. Just Blade Runner. And what's interesting is the first Blade Runner was a flop in cinemas, but became a cult classic. So then that gave Warner Brothers the faith that, maybe we can make a sequel that makes money. And then no, very funnily... Blade Runner 2049 didn't make money, and now it's a cult classic as well. So,
But it like, again, it's weird how both of them did make money, but they were really good. Like that, it's movie making is such a roll of the dice. Like you never know what people want. I mean, speaking of like, stuff like TikTok, terrible content. It's so incredibly powerful and just so makes a lot of people a lot of money.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I want to promote content, like Blade Runner that is insane quality. I think the amount of money spent on this film is like huge. Like,
well, let's do a quick
FX budget. I think it was huge.
Let's do a quick budget, brothers. Then go look up the budget. May as well look up the budget for Dune as well while you're at it. But yeah,
yes,
and this goes into again Warner Brothers' strategy of them putting a lot of money behind quality. It's like they understand that by taking these risks, individual movies might not pay off, but as a whole, the studio is seen as being a higher caliber as a result. So I think that's kind of what they're going for, and Blade Runner 2049 is amazing. So yes.
Okay. The budget.
Which one are we doing first?
Do you want Blade Runner first or Dune?
Let's do Dune first.
All right, Dune was 165 million. So I'm very surprised. I'm very, very surprised. So it had, $165 million project budget before marketing. Yeah. Oh, so that's before marketing though.
So you usually typically around double it, but
yeah.
But still, that's not. I thought it would be higher.
Space Jam was 150 million. The new one.
Actually,
what a waste of money.
Warner Brothers, for every Dune, you have a Space Jam. So I mean, I would say Godzilla vs Kong as well. That was fucking awful. So maybe they're not as high caliber as I'm thinking.
But I mean, like the money, where the money's going, say like in Godzilla vs King Kong. Yeah. Like, that's understandable. I feel like whereas Space Jam, it's like, where's the money going? Like, it's all CGI. It's literally all CGI. Like, I do not understand. And Jungle Cruise as well. What the fuck?
Yeah, I know. Fucking awful. But, see, the thing with Dune, and probably Blade Runner as well, is they likely did as much practical as humanly possible.
They did.
Right?
They did, yeah.
Do you know...
Denny is very good at that.
Oh, and what's the budget for Blade Runner?
150 million. Just $150.
Just $150. Easy. Yeah. Okay, so big budgets, but not insane. Like, they're definitely not small budgets, but they're not, $300 million or something ridiculous.
For all the cinematography and just like
the care put in.
The care and the breadth and like, just... The scope of all these films is huge, absolutely huge. So of course you need this amount of money
and
to do
cast as well. Getting that cast
and the cast for both movies, like this makes sense to normal human beings with brains. That is worth 150 million to make. Like, and then there's outliers like Space Jam and Jungle Cruise.
It's like where did they spend the money? They spent the money on like literally just fancy restaurants, like for all the producers to go out and celebrate.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, so Blade Runner 2049, it was definitely interesting to revisit it. It was a movie I saw in cinemas, which amazing experience on a gigantic screen.
I fucking wish I did.
And but yeah, what I would say with Blade Runner 2049 as well, and look, I'm gonna get a little bit negative for a little. Just give me a little bit. I won't go too harsh on it, but it is. If you look at the original Blade Runner, it is slowly paced, but it's a very simple story. So then it gets extended. Say it's like an hour and a half story that gets extended to 2 hours, whereas 2049 has a fucking gigantic story and is slowly paced as well. So then it's a 3-hour movie that's really slowly paced. Now, it keeps you interested with the cinematography, just like the look, like everything looks so good that it draws you in.
That's amazing.
But sometimes it can get a little like, how long are we going to stay in this shot of the city for? Can we like hurry it on? Like, that's my one issue with the movie, is there were times I was finding myself just suddenly scrolling on my phone because it'd be him driving in the car for about 10 minutes getting to the next scene. And, I think you could have sped some of it up. Now, I understand they were trying to keep the aesthetic of the original movie alive, but then something has to give. You either tell a gigantic story and kind of make it a bit faster paced, or keep the slow pacing and simplify the story. Instead, we got both, and it just can kind of be a bit much sometimes, That's my one criticism of this movie. Lucas, do you agree?
I have heard this kind of criticism with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. People saying, why do I have to watch the characters drive from one place to another? When I saw this film, I fell in love with it because I absolutely love seeing what's that other film with Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe?
Oh no, The Nice Guys.
No, not The Nice Guys. This 60s, 70s era Hollywood aesthetic is so cool. Just a place where everything's going on. People doing drugs every other place. People making pornos, huge movie pornos. That was just a thing back then. Just seeing this huge, this awesome era, I feel like that's what that movie was trying to drive home, and I absolutely loved that. I loved all the aesthetic. In Blade Runner, it's no different. I'm just a person that absolutely adores all this aesthetic, all these little things, all these little
the detail is
details,
insane,
amazing.
Every frame is just so rich with information in it, and you can tell a lot. It's very, I think, and that's probably something that Denis Villeneuve is great at, and probably one of my issues with Dune was that he's very much a visual director and he's showing you the story, but sometimes in Dune he needs to explain a lot of shit, so you have characters just saying shit. Whereas in Blade Runner, and I think I forgot this until I watched it again, was they don't really tell you much. There's not much dialogue. True. They just get on with the story and they start. It's this mystery, and you don't know what's going on, but neither does Ryan Gosling. So it's you're figuring it out together and uncovering things. And the slow pacing then does actually help the story in that regard, because it's this slow build up of I don't know what's actually going on, but you're slowly figuring it out. So. It's a kind of storytelling technique that a lot of films don't use. A lot of films explain everything to you. Great example is Mission Impossible, right? Where it's the start of the movie, they'll explain the mission. The first 5 minutes will be explaining the mission, and then the rest of the movie is the mission. They don't, Denis Villeneuve does not do that in Blade Runner 2049. It's, you're on the mission, and then you're slowly uncovering things as you go along.
That's true. But the story is one for the history books. It is awesome. I love the idea that and how it's off of the original. Harrison Ford. There's potentially this replicant baby out there. We have to that's the whole mystery. And then from the start as well, we know that there's a decoy. It's apparently a girl who died.
Exactly. And what's brilliant is that the movie gives you all of the information you need to make the wrong conclusion. So then
exactly,
you're trying to predict the story, because everyone does that when watching these kind of mysteries. The director knows that, and they give you evidence to kind of lean you into a certain direction. So then you think before the character does, oh, Ryan Gosling is the baby, and then it reveals to you that he is, and you're like, oh, I was right, and then they do a 180 on you, and it's great,
and it's amazing, it's awesome. But also just again, the character relationships and the character development as we see Ryan Gosling's character grow,
and
meets Harrison Ford's character.
A common criticism of Ryan Gosling is that he doesn't really do much. In a lot of his performances, say Drive. That's Drive, true. Great example.
That's true.
Doesn't really do much. But I think Blade Runner 2049 shows how he does do a lot. It's just not... Okay, great example. Jared Leto, right? Who is also in this movie. He is he does shit. He just if you look at Dallas Buyers Club or Suicide Squad, He fucking just goes for massive, loud performances. I'm a fucking amazing actor. That's what Jared Leto tries to do. Whereas Ryan Gosling is always doing these more subdued performances. And there's a lot of depth to his character in this movie. And there are just shots of him like staring blankly into the camera. And you could say he's not doing anything. But there's so much more nuance to his performance than that, you know?
100%. I think that's why he's perfect for this role.
Because he's playing a replicant, he also has to, so he needs to be somewhat robotic. And that's what he delivers.
It's amazing. It's honestly amazing.
Now, do you think Jared Leto is a good actor?
Yes, like in this especially, he is. I think so. I honestly think so. More the fact like his character, how his character's blind, and then these fucking scary ass drones. I don't know why or how Denis has done this with these fucking tubular looking, dildo shaped drones that look, honestly. If it was in any other scenario, they'd just be like, oh, there's that's a harmless looking thing. But they just look so menacing and scary. Yeah. And then with, Jared Leto's character making love that other replicant, character be like, scared and then see her fucking, not trying to mess up the whole plan and fucking just kill people. Just to me was just like this, this character's, the same as the Emperor, I guess. Just very, very powerful. No, but I did like his performance.
See, I thought it was a good character. I just don't, at this point, I don't know if Jared Leto is a good actor or not. That's the thing. I just don't know if I don't know if any choices he makes are nuanced. Like, that's my thing. I don't know. I really don't know. Because, you look at his performance in Dallas Buyers Club and you're like, wow. I mean, firstly, you couldn't do that today. There'd be an outcry if you cast, a man as a trans woman. But his performance is still good in that. Anyway, we won't get into it, but his performance is still good in it. But then you have Suicide Squad that then made me just lose all faith. Or even if you look at Requiem for a Dream, that's like Jared Leto has had a lot of great performances, but Suicide Squad made me question his abilities so much that I get kind of distracted in Blade Runner 2049, whether or not he's a good actor. It shouldn't cross my mind, but when I'm looking at him perform, I can't tell if this is intentional or over the top anymore, and that's just me. Okay. I think Jared Leto as an actor is ruined for me because of Suicide Squad.
That sucks. I thought, the Suicide Squad had ruined enough already. But no, it keeps fucking happening. I went outside the other day. No, I'm not going to say that. But yeah, I think Blade Runner was a good film. But both these films, I feel like you do need to watch on a big screen. Just because the whole idea of scale is shown off so well. Yeah. And that's why you go to the cinema to watch movies like this, because scale is shown so well, like with the Dune worm, with all these fucking huge spaceships, with the city in Blade Runner, and when he goes to Las Vegas, you just want to see these on a fucking
And when you have
screen.
This massive screen, then all the small details are blown up so that you can actually see it. So 100%, and I think that's definitely one of the things that probably sucked about watching Dune was that I wasn't as into it because I likely just wasn't watching it in the cinema, and that would have solved a lot of my issues because I would have been fully into it, fully invested in it, in all of its glory.
Exactly.
But I would say watching Blade Runner in in 4K on a big TV is still good, especially the 4K. Because when I got my 4K TV, they gave me a bunch of free movies. Well, a few. I got to pick 2 free movies. It was
nice.
A few of them. It included Venom, and I was like, I'm never, even for free, I'm not accepting that.
4K.
So I picked Baby Driver and Blade Runner 2049. So I got this movie for free. That was awesome. One of the first movies I put on this 4K TV to just bask in the glory of 4K, and it did not disappoint. It's just so gorgeous. All of the details, you see everything. It's so good. It's so good.
It's beautifully crafted. It's like the craftsmanship is just It's to die for.
We mustn't forget, but the cinematography is second to none. This is the best looking movie I think of all time. Honestly, the way the lights just hit the camera, it's just beautiful. And we must say, so the cinematographer is Roger Deakins, and he won his first Oscar for this movie, despite having great movies like Shawshank Redemption, Fargo, No Country for Old Men, Skyfall, and Sicario, all before this movie.
How did he not win beforehand? Wait, who? No, Denny also did Sicario, didn't he? Yeah, that's right.
So Roger Deakins has been prolific in the industry for such a long time, and he only just got an Oscar for Blade Runner 2049.
Well, there's a lot Leonardo, for instance, I haven't even seen The Revenant. Haven't even seen
Honestly, it's just getting mauled by a bear, the movie. Like, that's all it is. There's nothing more to it. It's just a bear.
Yeah. I mean, like, seeing bears on, like, YouTube and stuff, and just them, like, walking around and stealing trash
that's something
and
we
shit.
don't really experience in Australia, is just bears existing. Like, everyone always talks about Australia being so scary because of all of our wildlife and that. But imagine just walking in a small country town and there's just a bear. That would be scary.
Bear. How much do bears weigh? Like 400, 500 kilos massive. To like a ton. They're like fucking huge, and they can literally, with one swipe, your face gone. Literally.
But not...
Like, imagine being born with claws.
Yeah, I know. But...
Like, how much power and just damage you would cause just by, like, going like this.
Just all motion. Over Leonardo DiCaprio's face. Just ruin his beautiful charms.
Fuck you. Yeah, his beautiful charms as well.
I should, just quickly, I just want to add that Polka Dot Man, he gets karate chopped so hard that his eyes bleed. Like, that's the extent that Denis Villeneuve just wants to fucking kill his character. Is that it's just like blood everywhere.
Judo chop.
Yeah, exactly. It literally was that. It's a robot.
Yeah.
The replicant, side. What's her name? I don't know. It was the woman that
can't even remember.
Is like Jared Leto's secretary or something.
Yeah, Love.
Yeah,
that's her name. That was also interesting as well. With the Joy character and Ryan Gosling's character. Right?
Yes, he gets an artificial intelligence girlfriend kind of thing,
which everyone fucking wants.
An artificial
and like
and a Damas.
Yeah, because fuck real ones. You want a fake one. But and Arma Diarmas did an amazing performance. But like, I did like how you felt for Ryan Gosling's character, because Joy, as she's dying, says "I love you," and this whole thing as we go, like, oh, can AIs feel
the
love
whole
and
question
hate
of
for each
Blade
other?
Runner is like, what is existence?
Exactly.
Right.
And that's what gives that shot significance when the purple girl, which is Joy, coming down to talk to him, and he's like, fucking, are you literally just a product programmed to say that I love you, or do you actually learn things and stuff? And then he questions his own.
Yeah, because he is a replicant. So then what does that mean for him?
And he's just like, and that's essentially what Love is trying to find out as well.
What I love about this movie is that it could have, a big thing with the first movie, and it only became more of a thing because the first movie, when it released, Ridley Scott wasn't entirely happy with the version that was released, and it was there was a lot of studio interference with it. And anyway, there have been several different cuts of the movie that have changed a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
So the theatrical cut was he's not a replicant. And then slowly over time, Ridley Scott was able to add a lot of those things back in. So now the whole point is Harrison Ford a replicant or not? This movie could have very easily provided a definitive answer on that, and that would have ruined it. Absolutely ruined it. Because the point is, and what Ridley Scott was trying to do was, we get caught up in, is he replicant? Is he not? The point is, it doesn't matter because he feels human. It doesn't matter if he's a replicant or not because he thinks he's existing. From his perspective, he's a human.
And on the contrast, like, because talking about these things, like, it's kind of cool how they're a bit ambiguous, you know, like we want to question that. We want to, you know, be like, how did this all fucking happen? Like, is this all just a program? Is Ryan Gosling's character just being programmed to go on this path, you know, to find out that he's decoyed? Did Harrison's Ford character, you know, was he programmed to you know, literally have a replicant baby? And like questioning all that is really, really cool. And I love that, Denis understood that. And he's like, I'm not going to
answer. I'm not going to fucking
answer that. I'm just going to make a badass movie.
And when Harrison Ford gets asked it, it's so funny. When Harrison Ford gets asked it, he says, I don't care. And it's just like, that's Harrison Ford. That is Harrison Ford.
I remember saying to you as well, his costume design for this movie was literally just Harrison Ford came on set. He's like, I'm fucking just wearing a t-shirt and pants, and you can't get me to wear anything else, and it works.
It works for his character.
Really well.
It makes sense. And it's funny. He's done with life, but at the same time still wants to come back. Like, he came back to Star Wars despite hating the entire thing and breaking his leg. He's come back to Blade Runner. He's come back to Indiana Jones. Like, and he hates it every time. He's come back a lot. He hates doing it.
I feel like he hated this less because they, like, again, who he's working with was probably a lot better than Indiana Jones and definitely Star Wars. Holy fuck. That'd be the worst. Because even, what's his name? I can't remember his fucking name. The legend who played Luke Skywalker.
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill was even, like, just so against the new Star Wars. Like, he was, like, so against what his character was doing. And so was the rest of the human population. Who would have guessed? But yeah, fuck those movies.
Yeah, so if you want to watch a sci-fi movie, watch Blade Runner 2049 instead.
Yeah.
Or Dune.
Anything other than the new Star Wars.
Yes. If you want sci-fi fantasy, watch Dune.
Or Visions.
Oh, yeah, Visions is great too. Or, like, Mandalorian as well. Mandalorian is fucking... just
praise
brilliant.
Be fucking... And how did they do... who's the comedian that's in it?
Bill Burr?
Bill Burr. Amazing character as well in Mandalorian, but yeah.
So, that has been our reviews of Dune and Blade Runner 2049. Denis Villeneuve is just... he's one of a kind. I don't know whether there is more to say about him. He's just incredible director.
He's the head chef of like just
I will say
outstanding directors.
I think out of any director alive today, he's probably the most consistent.
Yes.
Because even
that's true.
Christopher Nolan can have a bit of a dip. Even Martin Scorsese can have a bit of a dip. Quentin Tarantino, he can have a bit of a dip. So far,
he can.
So far,
definitely.
I would say probably Dune is his worst movie, and that's still really good.
Oh yeah.
So I don't think Denis Villeneuve misses.
Oh yeah. It, like, if someone said to me, "Would you go see Dune in cinemas for like $30, $30 a ticket?" I'd say yes, of course. Even with the new 2049 Blade Runner. I would say yes today. Even though I watched it like 3 times. Yes, it's a spectacle.
It's
like going to an art gallery.
Type of spectacle to like most blockbusters, where it's less about explosions in your face. It's more.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
or to do with like No Way Home or the new Batman.
Yeah.
Right? Like how we're excited for these characters, or we're excited to see all these universes come together. This is more of a spectacle.
Yeah, like a visual,
holy shit.
Just like you need to see it.
Adventure. Yeah. It's a visual adventure.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Anyway, we must end there. Next week we have a few options. So I think next week we should do a bit of a Halloween spooktacular, and the new Halloween Kills comes out in theaters. So if Lucas is able to head out to a theater, we might. Yeah, they're open, aren't they? I think they're open.
I think they are.
We'll see. We'll talk about it.
So
potentially we will review the new Halloween Kills and event. Oh, I'll need to watch the whole Halloween, all the movies.
Apparently
I haven't seen any of them. So we could do that. Or also Army of Thieves, the prequel to Army of the Dead, comes out next week as well.
Ooh, that is. So I would probably be more inclined to do that.
Okay,
because
Lucas has spoken.
I kind of want to shit on the first one a bit.
What, Army of the Dead?
Yep. The one where all the zombies go to Las Vegas.
Yeah. You're telling me you didn't like that movie?
Let's get into it in the next pod.
We're going to fucking have a fist fight over this. Don't you dare talk shit about Zack Snyder.
Fuck you.
If you've enjoyed the podcast this week, please give us a like, follow, comment, all of that good stuff. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. Just anywhere you listen to a podcast, we're there. Podcast Now and at APod Now. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram, where we post some funny clips every now and then. So please do that. Thank you very much for watching.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.